Welcome to Bet the Edge on Thursday, November 3rd. Thanks everyone watching live on our NBC Sports YouTube channel. Drew and I are going to dig into side total player props in Eagles versus Texans, 2 touchdown favorites on Thursday Night Football. What's not to like, Drew? And of course, not the handicap college football. Number 1 and number 2 meeting up, Tennessee and Georgia. We got Notre Dame and Clemson as well, number 4 Clemson. And NBA, 2-game slate, but we got to give you our look. So all that and more on Bet the Edge. Drew, how are we doing on this Thursday? Are you thirsty for some Houston Texans football? That's the question.
I don't know if people have been watching Houston Texans football, but if that's what they're thirsty for, then they are in the Sahara Desert and they just need anything that is, of water purposes. This is going to be a rough one. There's really not a lot of ways to spin this positively for the Texans. I guess the key takeaway of the last handful of weeks, if you've watched any Texans football, is that their run defense is horrifically poor. And when I say poor, it's like there's 2 reasons your run defense could be questionable. Number 1, you just don't have the talent. And number 2, you have a scheme that is just not, it's solvable. And the Texans are suffering from both of those problems at the same time, which is why you've seen them fall from like kind of the bottom 5 to the clear bottom 1 in terms of run defense in the NFL. And in a normal week, you would say, hey, does their opponent have an opportunity to exercise that advantage? And the answer for the Eagles is obviously they have the best offensive line in football. They have one of the most dynamic running attacks because Jalen Hurts provides, kind of a unique challenge for teams to deal with in terms of, how effective he is at gaining the hard yards. And they have a plus EV head coach who is, he treats a 3rd and 4 on the Texans' 48-yard line like it's 2 down territory. He knows, like, okay, give us 1 or 2 here. We'll gladly take a 4th and 2. This is 4 down territory here. We're on your side of the field, and that general philosophy is not like broadly embraced across the league still. Even Tampa Bay last week on Thursday Night Football was kind of a classic example of really not trying to exercise that. And they have Tom freaking Brady, for crying out loud. So the fact that the Eagles are willing to do that, the fact that they are as well coached as they are, and that they clearly are going to look at the tape over the last handful of weeks and try to kind of repeat the success folks have had running the football against the Texans, would expect them to have relatively strong drive success early in this game, put together some points in the first half, put together a little bit of a first half lead, some scoreboard pressure on the Texans. And then at that point, if the Texans are in comeback mode, number 1, the pass defense for the Eagles has been incredibly solid this year. The only thing they really have struggled with is their run defense, but I think a lot of that has been sort of game state based, as more so than any particular weakness there. Although they are going to be without Georgia's the Georgia product, Jordan Davis, who's been incredible this year. So some opportunity potentially for the Texans to get it going on the ground. I think this is going to be a pretty heavy running game either way, which could shorten things a little bit. Anything I'm saying kind of lead you down a path where you can come up with kind of a plus EV same game parlay, or just any kind of player props really stand out based on my narrative here?
Well, my biggest and best play last week was Derrick Henry against the Texans, and of course, who wasn't laying whatever number they threw out there on Henry. So of course, you come back to Miles Sanders, you come back to Jalen Hurts, and those are the initial player props I look at. But there are books out there not even offering the rush attempts on Sanders or Jalen Hurts the day of the game as of right now, and that's because they know that it is going to be a ground and pound type game for the Eagles. So those are ways I approach it. I wanted to do Eagles first half because you just know that they've been punching everybody in the mouth in the first half. The only undefeated team in the NFL, not only in the game state, but also first half against the spread. And they are primarily a second quarter team, putting up about 20 points per game in the second quarter. So it's like you see what they're capable of doing, and you want to get on them early. But at -7.5 now for the Eagles first half, that's not a good number. And I know you'll back me on that one, Drew, because there's no value in that. You're hoping for some things to go your way, more than some things. But I'll ask you if you have an opinion on whether the first half and the total, because now it's back-to-back Thursday Night Football games. We've seen the over hit. The overs only hit 3 straight times, dating back to 2019 in the regular season for a Thursday Night Football game. I'm looking at this, and I'm kind of like, man, I like the under, but the Eagles' offense can be a train. So do you have an opinion on the total or the first half?
Yeah, the total betting market has been pretty interesting here because at this point in the season, there's not a lot of unknowns. And so to see a total get bet up from 43 across 44 to 45.5, when really the only injury information, all we got injury wise is that Cooks may not go and Jordan Davis isn't going to play. And if that doesn't really square with this much enthusiasm for the over. So that basically somebody is telling you that there is a big misprice in the market for one of these two offenses and or defenses. And I can't exactly tell you what that is, but I will tell you that any bet on the over, especially at the surcharge now of 45.5, you are counting on some garbage time points from Houston. You are. Yeah, I mean, that's what this relies on, because the idea that this is going to be a score and answer game from both sides is it's a tough ask. The pass defense for the Eagles is very, very good. And it's not, there are no game breakers here for the Texans. There are no home run threats, particularly with Cooks, not likely to play. So this is a weird one. I would wait and see if the market digests some of the injury information in terms of the Texans receivers. If you like the over, I think this maybe comes back down to 45.5. At a minimum, some people are going to, who played an over 43 are probably going to try to look for a middle, because 44 is a very common landing spot for NFL totals. And, it's a score like, getting to 44 is entirely possible in this game. So, I think wait if you like an over, but I don't see any reason to get involved in a total at this point.
Yeah, this game is altogether it's becoming more of a pass for me. And it's sad because I want to get on the action on Thursday Night Football. But if you're betting the Eagles, there's really no good value anymore. The Texans at plus 14 is a very scary bet. You're really relying on that backdoor cover. And I thought I had them in the bag against the Raiders for the Texans, and they left 21 points in the fourth quarter. And then we saw that they turn around and go 0 points at New Orleans. So I don't know what to make of either of these teams, besides the Eagles being dominant. So.
I guess one extra thought on a player prop here. Pierce has been very solid for the Texans, and he's got young legs. A short week's not going to impact him as much as some of the the veteran guys who need their rest and their full kind of prep cycle. And again, we've mentioned it. If there's one weakness for the Eagles, it is their rush defense. And without Cooks out there, Texans on a short week, maybe they do tack into a conservative game plan here, and Pierce gets an extra a load. Maybe he's 30 carries isn't out of the question here if they just basically turn this into a Pierce game. And Pierce is also capable of breaking one. So I think I'm going to sprinkle a little Pierce over rushing yards, Pierce over rushing attempts, and then Pierce over longest rush as sort of a little trifecta there, and see if I can capture a little value on Pierce doing something solid tonight.
I like that. Yeah, right now, the timing of 10:57, Dameon Pierce rushing yards at 64.5, which I think is a good deal. He's been my RB1 in fantasy this season. Never thought that would happen, but he is. But the longest rush prop, definitely good angles too. They have all the props are juiced to the over for Pierce, Sanders, and Jalen Hurts. So if you think there's going to be a lot of rushing, the books are telling you it definitely is going to be. So if you need fantasy advice like I do at some points in the season, make sure you guys check us out. Thursdays and Fridays, prime time on the NFL and NBC Sports YouTube channel. It's myself, Lawrence Jackson, and Kyle Dvorchak answering every question, breaking down who we're playing, not only for these games, but our Sunday slates as well. And Kyle Dvorchak, man, the tight end king, I call him. Come check us out. He's going to get you that first touchdown tight end score more than likely on some guy you've never heard of. So let's talk some college football, though, because we've had some pretty good weeks here the past 2-3 weeks on our NBC show on Saturdays. And another game where, it's a first half bet for me or it's a pass completely. Tennessee and Georgia, the two top teams in the country. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is betting the Tennessee Vols. We got over 90% of the handle coming in on Tennessee here as an 8-point underdog. The over-under is coming up a little bit. Do you have any opinions on this one? Because this is the Hendon Hooker Heisman game. If he wins this game, he's got the Heisman locked up. No doubt about it.
We talked about it last week, talking a little bit of Tennessee, Kentucky. I have a big old bet on Tennessee to win the SEC East. I think my price is 20-1, 17-1, kind of in that range. So I'm sitting on an equity that's pretty solid here. If Tennessee can somehow, some way find a win in Athens. It's tough to go on the road. They did it at home, obviously, versus Bama. People believe in this team because their offense can score. And Georgia has some question marks, particularly on the defensive side of the ball on here. It didn't look like Carter was 100% last week at all. And they're going to be without one of their key linebackers as well. So it's the Georgia defense is not 100%. And I get why people are enthusiastic about Tennessee. Tennessee was bet pretty aggressively outside of 8. Right when it was 9.5, I saw some very, very sharp players come and hit that hard, and the books have been resistant to, I think, people who were because I'm smart college football handicapping friends. Their mouths were watering. Like, you're going to give me Georgia at 8? Oh my God, this is awesome! And they're making big bets, and it is not moving. So there is pretty clearly more than just public resistance on Tennessee in this game. This is a two-way type of action in terms of the sharpest players at this number. I would be surprised if it moves off 8 at this point, which is basically just telling you that 8 is fair. So I guess best of luck to all parties involved, and I will be praying for somehow, some way Hooker getting the win here. And that would be a great story. I mean, Tennessee emerging from what has been underachievement going on 20 years would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could throw all the trends out the window for these type of games. Like the Alabama-Tennessee game was a great example of that because Alabama completely owned them, and every trend you would look at points to Alabama. Tennessee gets the outright win. Same situation here. Everything really points to Georgia, but you see the eye test, Drew. You're watching this team, and you're like, this is not your average Tennessee team, obviously. And Georgia, while they've had a lot of turnover on defense. Everyone went to the NFL last year, essentially. And this year they've kept everyone at 22 points or less. But a couple of those 22-point games, when Florida's scoring 22 on you, you're like, hey, Hendon Hooker, like, can you put up 35 for me? And if you put up 35 on Georgia, you're probably going to beat Georgia. And Tennessee, like we said last week, they've been the best first half team in the country the past 2 years. They're averaging 27.4 points per game in the first half, leads the country. Georgia's 4th with 22. We got a first half over of 31.5 here. And I'm thinking that's probably the angle. If you would want to play Tennessee plus 4.5, I don't think that's a great number, but the tempo, the possessions, the amount of plays they have, they're surely a great first half team. So I'm kind of looking at the first half over 31.5 for the Bulls. Any opinions on that?
I'm going to cheer for it.
Oh, let me ask you this. Since you have a Tennessee ticket, if Georgia's down in this game, would you consider live betting Georgia on the money line if you're getting plus money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So anyone watching, 100%. If you have Tennessee futures, that's how you're betting this game.
Basically that's what you're hoping for here, is that Georgia comes out, because Georgia hasn't really been tested. They haven't gone up against elite competition, and at least by ranking, at least by efficiency metrics, Tennessee is elite. So we're hoping that we get a good game here in the first half. A halftime advantage here for the Vols would be amazing. So
yeah, I think that's how I'm approaching it too. But another game is Clemson Notre Dame. Man, I bet Syracuse last weekend against Notre Dame. I was rewarded with a pick 6 on the second or third play of the game. That was a rough start. But I did fade the trend. Notre Dame is 30-2 on the money line since 2017 against ACC opponents. They are 3.5-point home underdog to the number 4 Clemson Tigers. Clemson needs this one for the college football playoff. We're approaching the upset season, Drew. Marcus Freeman, this could be the win of his early career. Are you taking the Irish on the money line?
It's very tempting. I have gone back and forth here about what to do with this game, because Notre Dame catching outside of a field goal and or coming away with the upset seems very realistic. If there's one team that is still in the mix for the playoff that just has inspired zero confidence, it has been Clemson. They are 8-0. Yes, they have had some hard fought wins. But quarterback position, depth, all of it is very, 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 very questionable. And Notre Dame has underachieved this year, even though you look at their current record, 5-3, and it's fine. This was a team that had national championship aspirations. The turnover from Brian Kelly to Freeman was never going to be completely seamless, but he's a good guy. He's a good coach. He's got the locker room. He's got kind of the team bought in. So seeing seeing Notre Dame kind of improve as we move into the month of November, I think is a realistic expectation. This is Golden Domers or pass, and I don't really love Clemson. in general, not really cheering for them to do anything. And I would love to kind of mix up the playoff race here. Bring in a little bit of chaos, a little bit of uncertainty, and a Clemson upset would definitely introduce that.
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, that's the way to start approaching some of these bigger games, is taking the underdog to get the outright win and try and get you some money for bowl season. Essentially, like I'm betting small teams. I'm betting San Diego State. I'm betting North Texas this weekend. I'm betting Air Force and Army. But if I was forced to bet Clemson Notre Dame, I'm absolutely going to sprinkle on the Notre Dame money line to get the outright win. And same with Tennessee here. Same with Tennessee. So I think that's the way you approach these college football seasons, because chaos will ensue, as Drew said. Happens every year. So before we kick into NBA, it's a weekend of must-watch events here at NBC and Peacock. It all begins with the horses, the Breeders' Cup, Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Tigers, the Clemson Tigers taking on Notre Dame football in South Bend on Saturday. Capped off with Saturday Night Live, one of my favorite shows, actually. The action continues Sunday, though. We got NASCAR Series Cup Championship, 3 p.m. Wraps up with the Titans battling the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, another team laying a lot of points. 7 p.m. for that game, all of it at NBC and Peacock. You'll see the crew there, so make sure you guys tune in and watch. It's a big, big weekend, but it is a small, small night in the NBA. 2-game slate. Warriors laying 9 at the Magic now. I'm seeing sharps on the Warriors. I like the Magic, Drew. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Magic here pass. Warriors in a really, really, really tough part of their schedule. And we talked a little bit about the Warriors as the season was kicking off and why it didn't make a lot of sense to bet them to win the title preseason. They're trying to do something extremely difficult in Golden State. They are trying to get time and development for their next generation of pieces, which includes Poole, who still needs court time, frankly. And Poole, Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody, like they're getting meaningful chunks of minutes, and they are getting destroyed. And a lot of it has to do with Wiseman's development. Guy just needs court time. Kuminga has regressed this season as well, which is a little concerning. But they can't, 3-5 is not enough of a poor start to either A, hit the panic button, or B, change your approach. Like they're committed to this because this is a transition of power that's part of sort of the broader arc of what the franchise wants to do. Paying the vets, into their, twilight years while also kind of having these young guys kind of moldering on the bench is not an acceptable strategy for this front office. And so those guys are going to get playing time. And I mean, I want to believe in the Magic in a lot of ways because I love their young nucleus, Wagner and Banchero. If you haven't seen these guys play, they're amazingly good, young, talented NBA future stars. They don't have a lot else on that roster in terms of who is really improving and shining. Wendell Carter Jr., I guess, deserves a little dap. He's been a producer, particularly statistically, he's putting up numbers. But the second unit for the Magic has been horrific. When those guys take the floor, they just bleed. So this game kind of comes down to which second unit stinks less. and I think you're going to get at the end of the day a pretty good performance out of the starters for Golden State going up against the inexperienced starters for Orlando. So Magic, not live for an upset here, but I do think this could be a closer, more competitive game. You need to keep an eye on the rotations. You need to see how Golden State's bench is performing, in the first half if you're going to make a second half bet on this one. But there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the Magic. The fact that you're getting an extra 1.5 off the open is that much more enticing. This is Magic or pass for me.
Yeah, if this gets to 10, I might have to really consider the full game spread here. But when I looked at the Orlando Magic, I've been watching the Warriors the past 2 games because I bet the Miami Heat to get the dub against them the last game. I bet Cade Cunningham over points and assists against the Warriors in the previous game. So I've been watching this defense, and I am more than less impressed. They have been terrible this season. 121 points per game allowed, second worst in the NBA. They were just the worst before the last game. This whole road trip, they've been terrible, allowing every single team to score 120 or worse. They've lost every game on this road trip. Every team this season, Drew, has scored over 109 on the Warriors defense. So why would the Magic not be able to score on them when they have WCJ, Banchero, Wagner, Bol, and Bamba those are 5 players at 6'10" or taller that are getting significant minutes. And you got Kayvon Looney and James Wiseman. After that, it's Draymond and Kuminga. So I'm just looking at this Orlando Magic team. They have so much height. It could cause a lot of problems for the Magic, or for the Warriors inside, And why I don't want to lay the points with the Magic +9 is because the Warriors definitely need a win on this road trip. On the East Coast, they've lost 5 straight East Coast games, 1-7 ATS in their last 8. Nothing worth back. And the Orlando Magic, the 3rd and 2nd most profitable team in the first quarter and first half of the season.
Wow.
But only 2-5-1 full game, 2-0 at home. So there's a lot of conflicting stats here. I do think a dog gets the win outright. Would you rather be betting the Magic outright or the Thunder outright tonight? Because everyone's throwing the Warriors and the Nuggets in a money line parlay.
I mean, not even a question. I would take the Magic over the Thunder. The Nuggets are fully rested. This is not a good spot to go against the Nuggets at all. The Warriors are exhausted right now. And it gets worse for them. Tomorrow they got to go play the Pelicans at New Orleans. So this is nasty stretch for the Warriors. Ultimately, if they end up 3-7 after losing tonight, losing to the Pelicans tomorrow, I don't think any one of us is going to wake up surprised on Saturday. It's a long season, not any reason to get panicked. But you bring up a lot of good points about the size for the Magic and what that could do in terms of a mismatch. I've been impressed by Steph Curry's play this year. Guy is an absolute legend, and you can't hold any of the struggles for the Warriors, against him. Draymond Green also has been playing much better than expected, or at least better than he was at the end of last season. But the entire rest of the supporting cast has underperformed, either because of fitness or because of just general lack of experience, and that'll continue to improve. So maybe get your bets in against the Warriors now in the month of November, because this isn't a team that's going to be worth fading when we get to playoff time. Yeah,
once January kicks in, it's Warriors or pass most every night for me when they're playing basketball. And for this quickly on this Thunder Nuggets game, because it's certainly not the more appealing game. As Drew said, the Nuggets do have a rest advantage, but the Thunder are 6-1 ATS this season. They're just covering spreads because everyone expects them to be terrible, but they got youngsters. Josh Giddey might be in for this game. No word on him yet. He did play in the previous game, but the Thunder have covered 4 straight games overall, 3 at home. In the series, they've covered 5 straight against the Nuggets, including every single game last season, which is appealing. But Nikola Jokic, fully rested, points, rebounds, assists, sitting around 46.5. I'm thinking that could be a midnight snack here against the OKC Thunder and their small lineup, especially them bottom 10 against points, rebounds, assists towards centers. So how are you approaching this game? Do you like Jokic at all? Points, rebounds, assists, anything like that?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, Jokic is primed for an explosion tonight.
Triple-double.
I'm trying not to let my bias seep into this handicap here. I think that the Nuggets are overrated. I think that OKC coming into the season was underrated. I was excited to bet on this team. They're 6-1 against the spread already, though, which means the market is going to be forced. They're going to be forced to pay attention if they keep winning, right? Yeah. And I like what the young nucleus looks like for OKC. I love them as dogs. I like, in particular, if they can figure out the rotation and the splitting of usage between Giddey and SGA, then this team is going to be dangerous. Not like make the playoffs, but like a pesky pain in the butt to play on any given night in a very, very, long season. So I want to back them more in November and December, but I need them to lose. I need them to lose I need them to look bad. Like in a big moment like this, like, in a standalone game where everybody tunes in, like, 6-1. What's this Thunder? What are these Thunder all about? They're I'll play them, and then just see them get just absolutely smothered would be ideal here to kind of preserve some of the betting value for them over the next month. And this is a weird kind of contradictory thoughts here. Love the Thunder long term, but would really, really like to see them lose badly in order to preserve some value.
Yeah, and they've already played once, and the Nuggets got the victory. And then you've seen them, they beat the Lakers. And the first time they met, they lost outright to the Lakers the second time. They lost first to the Jazz. They had to beat them the second time. So this is another spot. In the NBA, it's very situational. I know you encourage people to look at scheduling, arrests, and everything, because that really determines you how to bet these games rather than a matchup. I mean, everyone thinks, yeah, we both think the Warriors are a much better team than the Magic. That's no question. But situationally and schedually speaking, you have to look at this in a different light. And the Nuggets being, advantage rested right now helps, but coming off a loss, I mean, they've been pretty bad since the start of last year. 6-10-1 ATS is a road favorite coming off a loss, and they've lost the last 3 outright.
Yikes.
So they're in a bad stretch. Michael Porter Jr. getting worked back into the fold. Jamal Murray trying to work back into the mix. Yeah, I mean, it's a Thunder. I like both the dogs, but I think Nikola Jokic, it's ugly basketball, but I also got caught betting the Pelicans last night, and they lost the Lakers. So, yeah, I'm looking for some lunch money here. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Matt Ryan, not the good Matt Ryan, the other Matt Ryan coming up clutch.
No, this is now the good Matt Ryan.
I guess this is now the good Matt Ryan. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Any wrapping thoughts here on maybe NBA moving forward this weekend? Any sports games you're looking at?
Yeah, again, like to kind of close my thoughts on the Thunder. I hope they don't cover because I got them circled for Saturday. I want to play them against the Bucks. This is like they're going to be. I want them to be catching double digits on the road against the Bucks somehow because that'll be a great spot for them. Yeah, tomorrow, man, holy smokes, we've got a lot of disadvantaged spots for some of these teams we're talking about now. We've already mentioned the Warriors going up against the Pelicans. Pelicans played horrifically last night. I don't even really want to give too much credit to the Lakers. That felt like the Pelicans just played very, very poorly. I think they bounced back against the Warriors. That's going to be interesting to see where that line opens up. Speaking of bounce backs, Boston Celtics, man. Tough loss last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They welcome a gassed Bulls team to the Garden, get a little bit of revenge for an early season loss. This is a great spot for Boston to catch a little bit of fire.
As a Bulls fan, I'll be at the game at TD Garden tomorrow, so catch me rocking the Bulls jersey, betting the Celtics. I 100% agree. I'm very irritated at my Bulls right now because they had a plan moving forward with their back-to-backs, and they ruined it letting Zach LaVine playing that back-to-back last night or 2 nights ago. Last night. It was last night. And, he went 4 of 16 from the field and did not look good, and now he has to go to Boston where he's not the best. It's the DeMar DeRozan spot against the Celtics, but it's a Celtics trifecta spot, in my opinion. First quarter, first half, full game. So you and Jay enjoy talking about that one tomorrow. I'll be at the game, but I'm going to listen in so I can tell your guys' bets in that one. But I already know same wavelength there. So, appreciate you, Drew. Make sure you guys follow Drew on Twitter at The Well Capper. I am Vaughn Dalzell at VMoney Sports. Don't forget to check out NBC Sports EDGE.com. NBCSportsEdge.com. Let me say that correctly since I work for them. And then rotoworld.com as well to get all your guys' wagers, fantasy advice, and all that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the podcast and the NBC Sports YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys. Best of luck tonight. Let's go Magic.